Right. Hey, everybody. I was just telling Sarah, like, I'm such a fan. Sarah and I both work for the life coach school, but at different times. And I've been coached by her many moons ago, and but also been following you ever since. And there's things we have in common that you don't even know about. So I feel like I kind of probably know you more than you might feel like you know me. And I'm just really, really honored. And yeah, to be able to share this with you. And I want you to know that, like, I feel very just very held and safe with you already, and
I'm glad.
that's so important. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
I would love to just for you to just say hi and just let everybody know who you are and what you do and who you work with and whatever you want them to know.
absolutely. First of all, it's an honor for me to be here. Um, I um, I always feel really honored when I'm invited into someone else's pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what brought us here, is hearing about the amount of grief and pain that you are dealing with at this point made me want to be here, because we did train together, and we have similar background in the life coach school training. And then because of who I work with women who want to stop people pleasing, and
Mm.
they want to stop the perfectionism that feels that once felt really, really good. It got them, promotions and scholarships and good grades, and everybody thought they were amazing, and now they're just tired, and they don't know themselves. They don't know who they really are. Like, if you took away everybody else's expectations and everybody else's to-do lists, and they might not have a real clear sense of who they are and what they want. And so after finishing at the life coach school, I've done several years of training in actually some therapy modalities, internal family systems, and somatic experiencing, because what I realized was that if everything we do as humans is for connection, safety, and dignity,
Mm.
that's people pleasing and perfectionism is how we get a lot of that. It's how we know we belong, because everybody tells us how indispensable we are to the organization that we work in, or it's how we feel safe when we know that if we just step it up and please people, then they won't get mad at us, or that we'll be able to diffuse tense situations. And it I quickly learned that a big reason that many women cannot stop people pleasing is because they feel so unsafe when they don't. They now feel like, who is going to have bad opinions of me? Who's going to be disappointed by me? Who is going to be mad at me? And just the fear of walking around in a world where everybody is mad and disappointed at you often just sends them right back to those people pleasing and perfectionating behaviors that they hate. They just don't know how to stop.
Okay. What was it about me sharing with the community about my the death of my partner and grieving through that? Was there something about my sharing of that, or what was the thing about my sharing of that that made you kind of go like, yes, I want to help?
Yes. So I grew up in a very conservative religious um, group, the LDS Church, Mormons,
Yeah.
and I left about 4 or 5 years ago. And I did not understand at the time that I was feeling deep grief.
Mm.
I was sad. I mean, I knew I was sad. I knew I was disoriented. But whenever I would sit still, whenever I would contemplate about the loss of my community, my friends, my worldview, my, like, where my sense of right and wrong came from, what I thought would happen to me and my family after this life. I mean, it was like everything I thought I would be doing, right, for the rest of my life, which isn't, there's some crossover there with a partnership, right? You think you're going to spend the rest of your life with this person. You think you're going to be together for a long time. And that might be where the similarities end. I don't want to assume that those are the same thing, because they're absolutely not. But the loss of something that you hoped would endure, the loss of something that you love, the loss of what your hopes and dreams, that's grief. And so kind of alongside the other work that I've done has been to really deal with my own grief. And that just when I started, if you would have asked me what I thought of my grief, I would have said, it's this like black pool.
Yeah.
And if I go in there, I'm never coming out. And so I have to stay out. I have to stay out. I have to distract myself. I have to say, it's not that bad. It wasn't that bad. We can find another church. It's going to be okay. There's no need to worry. I mean, some of it we don't even agree with anymore. Some of it seems downright silly now that we look back at what we believe. Like, I had to have a way to stop doing that and then just be with my grief. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Yes. Relating right now, because yes, two things I want to say is, first being, no matter the circumstance, I do believe that we as human beings, we all experience like the same bodily emotions, so whether it's like different kinds of grief, different kinds of loss, different kind, just all of it, all the human experiences, we like the thing we share with the different circumstances, we share the emotional experience.
Yeah.
So that's something I want. So for anybody listening, if this is not a like, oh, comparison, right? Of like, oh, my grief is this and yours is that. It's like, no, we're all experiencing it pretty much, I think, this pretty similarly in our bodies and kind of the way that it feels. And I so relate to what you're saying, because and this is what everybody is telling me too, the people that know me, they're like, oh, you're holding it together. You're so strong. You're like a superhuman. And I'm like, I think what I'm doing is I'm just kind of like maybe sitting on the side of the pool. I'm willing, I acknowledge the pool. I know it's there, and I'm willing to toe dip in it and maybe like, swirl my hand around in it and gaze in it, but I don't go in it. In fact, I know I don't. There have been a couple of experiences that I've had where it's literally pulled me in without my knowledge or permission. I've found myself completely engulfed in the pool. And, those were kind of scary experiences where I felt like very out of control and not sure what to do. And so once I came out of those, I was like, okay, maybe there's some things I can do to help my body, to help my nervous system explore some of this and move and just be with some of this, I guess, so that doesn't happen. I do want to say, so that I don't want that to happen again. Or if it does happen, like I can like be more present with it, and I can handle it without it being so scary. So that's kind of where I'm at. Just like, if that helps you to know, is there anything else, I'm very new to this. I'm only like a few, sessions in of exploring like some of the different somatic modalities and coaching. And so I always like to ask, like, is there anything that you tell your clients how to prepare, or anything you need to know before you start a session?
Yeah, there is something. I'm so glad you asked, because I find it helpful to explain some of the way our nervous system functions, so that you kind of have like a structure or a scaffold of information that's going to guide us through, so what's happening. It's like a map. If I'm driving, I live in Arizona, and if I'm driving to see my sister in California, I know like I'm on the right road because the cities, I'm seeing them on the map. And so I like to explain.
My nerdy side is like, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So all mammals who have the same kind of nervous system function that we do, which means we can be startled, we can be scared, we can be angry. You know, we have similar nervous system reactions of fight, flight, freeze. And then a fourth nervous system reaction is fawn, F-A-W-N, which is the please. Try to diffuse a situation by pleasing, by making sure everybody's okay. And we're not going to talk so much about that one because it's probably not, my guess, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, it's probably not the biggest player in what's going on right now. It's probably fight or flight, like, you know, take off, ignore it, distract yourself, or freeze, just feel like paralyzed by it, where you don't know what to do and it just kind of locks you in place. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So nervous systems have the ability to do something called pendulate. And I'm explaining, everything that I'm explaining to you comes from the work of Dr. Peter Levine. And he developed this method, somatic experiencing, to help primarily survivors of PTSD gain back this pendulation ability in their nervous systems. And what it means, pendulation is literally, you know what, have you ever seen a pendulum?
Yeah.
It just, you know, it swings from side to side and it's very predictable and it just keeps going. And as long as you just wait, it will go back the other direction. You don't have to do anything, right? You don't have to push it or make it or force it. So if you can imagine, and for those who are listening and don't see, you know, the video, if on my right side, here is the big grief, and on my left side, here is you feeling stable and secure and very present. Our nervous system actually has the ability to move back and forth between those two states biologically.
Trying to let that sink in.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a second. Yeah.
Okay. That is what my nervous system is designed to do.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yes. Now, we short circuit that when we talk ourselves out of our bad feelings, when we use substances to get us out of feeling bad, when we don't know how to just calmly observe and be with upset or fear or panic as an observer who has the trust. It's okay. It's all right. You're just all the way over here right now on the right side with the huge, big, overpowering emotion. Just take some breaths. Just find the place in your body where the air is going in and out, or find something that you love in your surroundings. And then you'll see your nervous system move back over toward calm and, you know, toward parasympathetic nervous state. So if no one is helping us do that, and if we are left alone, as most children are, with their overwhelming, terrible, confusing feelings, they do learn how to regulate by blaming themselves, by doubting themselves, by sleeping, by eating, right? To get themselves back into some kind of calm state. What we are missing is adults who know how to regulate themselves, who teach their children, their students, the children that are in their, you know, sphere of care. It's okay. You're having this big, overwhelming emotion. It's totally normal. I know it's scary. I know it doesn't feel good. Can we just stay with it for a minute? And then if that had been the case, you and I would have a lot of trust, right? We would trust that our bodies need to feel something. It needs to be felt, to be discharged or processed, and that it would come to a place of equilibrium all on its own.
Imagine.
Right. Now, just as a caveat for people listening, I am not talking, there are, you know, mental illnesses or conditions that prevent that really kind of biologically inborn process of pendulating. And I'm talking about a nervous system that is not under the effect maybe of one of those mental illnesses or mental challenges.
Okay.
So when a child is essentially left alone to regulate and to understand their own big emotions, they blame themselves and they doubt themselves. Those are really the only two mechanisms that they have for either I'm bad, I'm wrong, something is bad and wrong about me, or maybe I don't really know what's happening to me. Maybe is this a big deal? I don't really know. So self-blame and self-doubt become the primary kind of voices in their head, and not self-trust.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And would you say that for a lot of people it's either one or the other, or is it like a mixture of both?
Either one or the other
Like,
of
of the stuff, like I'm feeling more like probably drawn towards the self-doubt is probably how I versus the other. Is that normal, or just are some people like, yeah, I do both?
I think some people do both. I think it depends on the person. I
Yeah.
think self-blame can really be it can really be ingrained by the other big people in your life. Like, what's the matter with you? Try harder. You're lazy. You're not doing enough, right? There can be voices of the big people in your life that kind of will push you more toward one or the other, or you don't know what you're talking about. You are just a silly little kid. You don't know what's going on. That can be more of the self-doubt. But what that grows up into, either way, is someone who essentially feels like they're the one at fault. They're the ones who are the problem. They're the ones who have to fix it, but they don't have the tools to fix it. And so it's just this reinforcing cycle of self-doubt or self-blame or both.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay. So I want you to imagine that your nervous system is like an elastic, living, breathing thing. If you look up one of Dr. Peter Levine's videos on pendulation, he has this ball, and it starts out like maybe the size of a grapefruit, but then the way it's engineered, you can pull on it and it gets bigger and smaller and bigger and smaller. And that's another way that you can think of the nervous system's ability to pendulate. Like some days we feel big, we feel expansive and open, and like the world is good, and things are going to work out. The universe is in our favor, that we can be hopeful. And other times we feel very compressed, very compact, very kind of folded in on ourselves, like nothing is working, nothing is going right. And so both of those states are normal. There is nothing inherently right or wrong with either state. One feels better than the other, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that I see with people who are deeply self-critical and self-judgmental is that they'll get in one of those compressed nervous system states and then slap a layer of judgment on it. What's my problem? Why am I like this? Why can't I do better? Why can't I fix this? And it just keeps them locked in that smaller, more compact, closed position, because rather than just notice, oh, I'm feeling really compact and closed, I'm not feeling open to the world, I'm not feeling like there's a lot of hope and joy in my life. Okay. And recognizing it as just a normal thing, they judge themselves for it. And that's actually what keeps them in it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it's interesting, I feel at least like I feel like I'm not doing any of that.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling like very open now to like going in and being like, what? like, let's go,
Yeah.
and it's really, for me, it's just kind of like, the only hesitation that I have, or maybe resistance, I don't really even know what to call it, is just kind of this idea of like, I'm not sure what's in there. I'm not sure what's in
Yeah.
that black pool. I don't know what's
Yeah.
lurking at the bottom of that, and what it could potentially feel like. And even though, like, logically, intellectually, I'm like, I know I can handle it and I'm safe, it's still like my body is saying,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
don't go
Right.
there. Okay.
And what you have just described is the outcome of lack of self-trust.
Okay.
Your brain and your body are having two separate experiences.
Yes.
And your brain will argue with your body, and your body will argue with your brain, right? Even though we're the same, like it's the same thing, right? Your brain will say, we have to do this. This is important for us to move forward. And your body is like, because there isn't a coordinated, connected level of, we know what this is like. We know that whatever is in that pool, we can handle mentally and somatically. Soma just means body. We can handle it in the body. We can handle it in our brain, and it belongs.
Okay.
If it's here, it belongs in some way. And I would just, if I, once I give you that sentence, or as I give it to you, what do you think of it?
When you say it belongs, oh yeah,
Yeah.
immediately it took me to a time when I did feel overcome with emotion, and the thought I had was, oh no, something has gone terribly wrong here. This is not okay. I've got to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was
Which,
definitely not this belongs.
yeah, yeah, which totally makes sense, because
Wow.
I really want to emphasize that the graciousness and the generosity that we should have for our emotional experience,
Yeah.
most of the time we don't, because we were never taught.
Yeah.
Every time I got really angry, I was sent to my room and told to come out when I could act
Down.
appropriately, quote unquote, right?
Mhm.
No one ever told me, like, your anger, Sara, is good.
Mm.
Now, maybe throwing things at people, we need to talk about that. But the fact that you're having this emotion is not bad. And so, me, Sara, to you, Sara, your grief, it's not bad.
Yeah. It's interesting when I hear you talk about that experience and I think back to my childhood, like, nobody talked to me about anything either
Yeah.
way, good
Yeah.
or bad. It was just, I was just left completely to my own devices, like,
That's
to figure
right.
it out.
That's
Yeah.
right. And so you've described a little bit of self-doubt. What that grows up into is, am I right? Am I feeling this correctly? Can I trust what I feel? What do you think? What do you think? Is this okay? And people who don't have the self-trust and tend more toward that self-doubt vein, they don't they don't they cannot rely solely on themselves. They always have to ask other people. They always have to look it up and check. They always have to they have this, I call it the jury of their peers, right? That they're just constant. Was I too mean? Did I say that wrong? Is that I'm feeling this? Is this weird? Would you feel this if you were me? Because you just have to constantly verify
Mm.
your experience with other people.
Fascinating. Okay.
Does that feel familiar?
Very familiar.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know, oh my gosh, I'm even thinking, like, people are going to hear this and just be like, oh, I just feel so called out right now.
Well, and that's the thing, is that I hope I hope people feel seen. That's my
Yeah.
hope, is because where else, who was going to teach this to us, right?
Yeah.
Where else would we have gotten this information? My own parents were barely getting through themselves, right?
Right.
And the
And I
way,
think my mom, yeah, for sure, she was barely getting through it herself. But it's so fascinating. I just want everybody to know, like, even right now, my brain is going like, oh my gosh, you're 51, really? And you're just figuring this out, and you have
Right.
a 17-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old son. You've already failed them for this many amount of
Right.
years. That I just want everybody to know that, like, even though, you know, I'm a coach and I am where I am in my journey, like those are things, those are so normal. And I
Yeah.
recognize that, like, these are just very normal thoughts that my brain is offering me right now around
Yeah.
this. And then I can lean into, like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to be here. And I'm so grateful to be learning this now. And of course I'm going to benefit, and those around me are going to also, you know, ripple out. It's going to ripple out from there. So it's okay. It's all
Yeah. I mean, I'm also 51. Nobody taught me. I'm just learning and doing this for myself and for my children as well. And luckily, what we know about children is if we can talk with them and apologize and admit where we did something that we wish we wouldn't have done, it can repair and it can be better. And so, as someone who has had to have a lot of those conversations with my own older children, and I will say one of the things that allows me to look back at a lot of the harm that I caused is the fact that I have felt the grief of it. And so when I look at my daughter, who's 23, and I told her, I am so sorry that I spanked you when you were little. Like the person whose body you came out of, I hit you as a way to try and correct your behavior. The reason that I could say that is because I had felt the grief of that. And I didn't get sucked away by the grief, and I could just be there with her, present for her. Because if I was going to get sucked away in the grief, that's still about me, right? That's still about me and my feelings. And when you're going to repair with someone, it needs to be about them and their feelings. And the only way you can get there is if you have spent some time with you and your feelings about this.
Woo.
So this grief work is, I mean, as
Wow.
I'm assuming, are you also based in the United States?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe a lot of people are listening from the United States, and maybe they're, outside the US. In the United States in particular, we are terrible with grief,
Mm-hmm.
right? All
Yeah,
you got to
even
do is,
my therapist, she's from Romania, and she was telling me about how in her country, when somebody is going through grief, they wear black
yeah,
for like a year so that
yeah,
everybody outside, people on the bus, people in the bakery, they
yeah,
know, so that they know that they need some extra care.
right,
Here, take
right.
my seat. Here,
Yes,
can I sit with you? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
right, right. And here we just say there's 7 stages of grief. You got to get through them so that you can get on with the rest of your life. And I mean, even in times of, national tragedy, I think back to 9/11, I had just had my first baby, and you have George W. Bush, the president at the time, standing on the rubble, vowing vengeance, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, this is a time of grief. And I think we've tried to do a better job afterward, but just in general, our culture, very Western, capitalist, productivity centered, we value people getting over it and getting back to work and getting back to productivity much more than we value wearing black as kind of a public display of how you are feeling on the inside so that other people can accommodate you. Nobody's going to accommodate you in your grief.
Yeah.
That's really the message we send. And so there's a lot of reasons why this grief work is very foreign to us. We don't have holidays where we grieve. Many religious traditions have, holidays that are just about grief. We want to celebrate and be happy and focus on the positive. And that is a very endearing, other part of culture in the US. But it doesn't lend itself to a very deep relationship with a primal human emotion that think about this. Every single person will be touched by grief. Every single person, because
At least
everything we love, we will lose.
one.
That's the nature of this human life. Everything we love, we will lose. And we don't have a real good mechanism for understanding it or dealing with it.
Okay. All right. Let's
So,
do it. Let's like show people then what you want
okay.
to show through me
Okay. All right.
about grief.
So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to explain it first, just so you have the map.
Okay.
I'm just going to ask you to relax. And then I'm going to have you just orient to where you are right now in your room, in your space. And I'm going to give you some instructions. And that's going to help you feel safe. You've already mentioned it. And I'm so grateful that we have a little bit of a relationship going into this, because it does require that you at least feel a baseline of safety. And then as I give you the instructions and as you follow them, I'm going to ask you to feel into your body, and whatever is there, whatever wants to be there for today and wants to be recognized and named and dealt with will be there. And then I'll walk you through how we do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready? I want to grab my blankie.
Go ahead. Please do. Yeah, absolutely. That's very important. I'm so glad you said that.
I'm gonna give myself
Oftentimes,
permission, yeah, to just
yeah,
wrap up in my banky.
you know what? This is a weighted pillow that I
Ooh,
just got as a gift from a friend who's a therapist, and she keeps it on her lap as kind of like we're here, we're here. Yeah.
mental note, look up weighted pillows when we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
It
that.
is really anything and I want to give you permission right now, anything your body wants to move, any sounds that you might want to make,
Mhm.
all of that is welcome and encouraged. Because again, what we're going to be doing is kind of trying to let your logical brain rest for a minute, because the logical brain wants to tell you how it should be and what it should look like and what you should and shouldn't do. And then just kind of let your body tell us what it needs. So for just a second, I'm going to have you start with your eyes open. And I want you to just notice where your feet are. Can you tell me where your feet are?
Yeah, they're down on a mat. Like I'm in a chair that's high up off the ground, so I can't reach
Okay.
the floor. So
Okay.
it's like a little mat that has ridges on it if I feel like massaging the bottom of my,
Yeah.
but right now they're just resting on the front pads crossed, like my feet
Okay.
crossed,
Yeah.
resting
Yeah.
on pads.
Yeah. Does that feel good?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you know it feels good?
I guess just because you asked me and I kind of went down there and sort of asked the
Yeah.
feet, like, are you good? Are you comfy? And they're like, yeah, we're good.
That's perfect. That's
Okay.
exactly it, right?
Okay.
Sometimes it's so interesting to just notice, how do we know if something feels good or doesn't feel good?
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
And so as you let your attention go from your feet, maybe up your legs,
Mhm.
you said you're sitting in a chair. And can you notice what it feels like to be held by your chair?
Hmm. Now, when I ask that same question, does this feel good? I'm like, actually, I feel like I'm going to slide out of it. So I don't
Okay.
feel like completely held, which
Interesting.
makes me want to now bring my legs up
Okay.
and under and crossed. And that feels much more grounded.
Good. Good. Just notice the amazing information that is right there.
Okay.
So the minute you send your focus and your attention there, your body will tell you this either feels good, this feels like support, or this doesn't.
Okay.
And then you can adjust.
Okay.
One of the consequences of living separate from our body is that oftentimes our body will be really uncomfortable and we don't even check in.
Mm.
So you're comfortable now, you have your legs crossed.
Mhm.
Okay. So now notice what is the quality of the support that your legs, as you've arranged them now, is offering you.
Mm. It feels even, it feels comfortable. I don't feel like I'm too far forward or too far back. It just feels grounded.
Okay. Beautiful. Like Goldilocks getting to that chair where she's like, just right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Just notice as your attention kind of travels up your body, are you holding tension anywhere? Your hands, maybe your jaw. That's a place where a lot of us hold tension. Your stomach.
Little bit, I've got a couple places, a little bit in my abdomen, little bit in my traps, like my shoulders back there, and then a little bit in my jaw. Like my cheeks kind of hurt a little bit in here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And a little
Beautiful.
bit too, a little bit like in this area, like around
Yeah.
my eyes, my sinuses, I feel some tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you know it's tension?
I know it's tension because it feels like like restricted.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah. And in at least in the jaw spot and in the shoulders, like my tummy doesn't feel pain and the tension around my eyes don't feel pain, but I can feel like the muscles are restricted. But in my jaw and in my shoulders, I can actually feel physical tension, physical pain.
Yeah.
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 Can you find another place in your body that doesn't have tension?
Mm. Yeah. My seat, like my bum.
Okay.
Feels
Yeah. Perfect.
pretty
Yeah.
relaxed. Yeah.
Pretty relaxed,
Mhm.
pretty supported.
Yeah. My
I
hand.
want you,
Yeah.
perfect. I want you to see if you can take your attention from your bum
Mm-hmm.
to your shoulders and just notice the difference in the quality of your body as it's supported in your bum and then tight and constricted in your shoulders.
Well, it's weird. As I even draw attention to it, I can almost feel my shoulders relaxing a little bit. Like my arms are kind of like wrapped around my abdomen and they just started on their own without me moving them, just loosening. Like it was like a boa constrictor there for a second and then they just loosened, but I didn't tell them to.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's a little pendulation
Hmm.
in between a tight, constricted area of your body and a more open, spacious, supported area of your body.
Okay.
And what you noticed is your body's inherent ability to borrow. It's almost like borrowing the spaciousness and openness and taking it to the place that is constricted and tight to try to even them out.
Okay.
Like that really beautiful opening and closing that our nervous system and our body is designed to do.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that you can always do
Hmm.
when you feel constricted. Like if you're crying, it's likely that your face and your head and all of the muscles up, from your neck up or even in your chest are going to feel very constricted. If you could remind yourself, there's another part of my body where there is some openness, where there's another part of my being, there's another part of my soul or my belief system that
Hmm.
has some openness.
Okay.
What did that bring up?
Very cool. Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it's so interesting whenever I cry with the grief,
Yeah.
it's different than other like crying
Yeah.
that I've ever experienced. And I noticed that I instantly hold in my like solar plexus area, like that just clenches
Yes.
down and it holds super tight. And I'm thinking now, like how I could bring like some expansiveness to it, even just like with my lungs and through some breath.
That holding and clamping is very normal.
Okay. Yeah.
When you mentioned you have 2 children, did you give birth to them?
Mhm. Yeah.
And were they born vaginally, cesarean section?
Yeah, vaginal.
Okay, so you remember when, oh, I mean, I don't know that a lot of us like to remember being in labor, but like what were the nurses or whoever, the midwife, whoever was helping you to remember, like, don't clamp down, don't stop, try to stop the contractions, breathe into it, open, and it's so painful. Contraction pains are so painful, but your body, that's how we can give birth,
Yeah.
is because our body, even through such a painful ordeal like birth, can remain open with our breath, that Lamaze breathing, right? That maybe you learned in a birth class. I know that's where I learned it. So yeah, beautiful.
Okay. Awesome.
So the next thing I want you to do is I want you to just relax even more down into that seat that already feels so supported.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to just let your eyes roam around your room, just taking in the different things that you have surrounded yourself with. And I want you to tell me when something in particular catches your attention.
I have stickers on my window that when the sun is coming in at certain times of the day, it puts rainbows all over my room. And so that's what I focus on when I look around. I want to just keep going back and looking at the rainbows. I love them so much. And I have a new cat.
Mm-hmm.
Rob had a cat. My partner that died, it was his cat,
Yeah.
and now it's mine. She's on my
Yeah.
bed grooming herself right now.
Lovely.
Mm.
Yeah. Is it okay if we just stay with this for just a minute?
Yeah.
The cat,
And there's a rainbow
this,
on her right now, which is
the
perfect.
rainbow on her, the stickers. Yeah.
Mm.
Noticing the good, taking in the good.
I notice my eyes don't want to look at his pictures.
Yeah.
I'm avoiding that.
Would it be okay if you let yourself look at them for just a second now?
Yeah, it's okay.
Can we stay with this feeling for just a second?
Mhm. Oh, it's so fascinating. I stop breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything goes, well, not everything, pretty much maybe like from my heart.
Sternum, that sternum area up to your throat. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was holding my breath.
Yeah. Is it okay that that happened?
It's familiar.
Yeah. Again, not right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Your body's way of trying to deal with it. And I wonder, as you notice that holding and constricting, just stay with that for just a second. Trusting yourself to feel it. Yeah. Feel relaxing into it. Is that what I saw?
Mhm. Yeah.
There's no requirement for anything else. You're doing great. What was that?
Like just memory, just I just imagined him watching me right now and just being like, I'm so proud of you, babe, or you got this, babe, or just go with it. That's what he used to always say to me. Just go with it, babe.
Go with it. You're doing a beautiful job.
Yeah.
I saw you take a deep breath and I saw you soften a little bit into it. Yeah.
And it's so interesting. Just then, the rainbows all shifted. I don't know what the sun is doing right now, but I've never like observed them for, this long, and they've completely changed. It's so
So
cool.
beautiful. Yeah.
So cool. Hmm. And I can look at the pictures now and just smile. My baby. And it comes back. Mhm.
Would it feel good to soften into this wave as well? Beautiful. You did it. Just check in that area that's tight what you noticed or that was tight. Let your body move or do whatever it wants to do right now. Perfect. Doesn't that feel good?
Hmm.
Just
Yeah.
letting your body move side to
My
side.
neck. So yeah.
Yes. Beautiful big breath there. You can share anything that you'd like, or you can keep it internal, whatever feels best.
I'm just noticing how when I do relax into it and when I breathe into it, it's like it goes from like such an uncomfortable, like that tight, restrictive pain to just like this, like beautiful, it just feels like a pure, like even like it's like a almost like a joyful pain, if that makes sense. Like
It does make sense to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like transforms from, oh God, how am I gonna survive this pain, to like just the pureness of just I miss him and I love him so much. I wish you were here.
I'm going to ask you a question that you don't have to answer unless you want to. Why do you think that is, that it changes that way?
I personally think that it's what like my body is like designed to do, to like transform everything into love. And that's just coming from, you know, like my personal experiences and my and where I'm at in my journey. Like everything that's inside of me is, I'm here to like learn how to transform that into that light and that love. And that's literally what I'm designed for.
I agree.
Hmm. I will say though that I wish I didn't, like there's definitely I wish this weren't the way that I had to do it. Which immediately, like saying that out loud, like immediately put like a pit of like nauseousness in my stomach.
That makes sense.
Mm.
Is there anything that that pit wants you to know? If it could speak, what would it say?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have to feel it this through this way, through this experience, and also I love you. So it's a little bit of both. So it feels a little bit like that makes me feel a little bit more accepting, because I could sense like I was like starting to argue with reality, wanting to go down that trail. So it already feels better. I kind of wrapped my arms around it and held it really tight. And it feels better already.
Love how you knew what it needed. You gave it the support, the tight wrapping of your hands and arms around your body. Doing a great job of listening to what your body needs. And you haven't been wrong yet.
Hmm. A little journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to call like my mind work like the journey I'm going through in my mind. And that felt like my first little journey through my body.
Well, you did beautifully.
Mm.
And I wonder, like, what is most on the surface for you now?
Just the sense of being held, like the sense of like how capable I am of comforting myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So held by you,
Yeah. Yeah.
held by your own intuitive knowing
Mhm.
of what your body is telling you, what it means, what it needs.
Yeah. And it feels so good to touch back into that connectedness, because since he died, I've felt, very disconnected, which makes sense. But even as I think about like where I've been at in my journey, I've felt very connected to myself mentally,
Mhm.
even before I met him, and all throughout our relationship. I was very like loving and supportive of myself, but it was all like in my head.
Yeah.
Now it's like this is moving into new territory, but I think what I'm getting from it is I'm like, oh, I know how to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you do.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Such a sense of just comfort and peace and calm. It's like that safe space that I created in my mind, where I knew like, I made this a safe space to be and always come back to. I can sense that, yes, like this can also be a safe place to come back to. And there's nothing more comforting than that, because if I'm able to do that for myself, then I don't have to rely on things outside of me, which is always like, so you can't control that.
Right.
And I always think like nobody, once I, became my greatest, friend and lover and supporter, I was like, nobody can take that away from me. And so I'm like, it can be the same for my body, the safety that I find within my body. Nobody can take that away from me.
That's exactly right.
And that's so cool. I love that. It's like I feel like I've tapped into like one of the secrets of the universe,
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
can feel so much peace in it. Not to sound morbid, but if I found myself lying on my deathbed, I would be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm so safe here, and I'm so like proud of the work that I've done to connect to myself. I'm good. No matter what happens. No matter what happens.
And another way of saying that is it belongs.
Mm,
Things that we feel, the I I think a lot of times when we don't understand that I can handle it, that it belongs, that it's here for my good, we get very suspicious of our bodies, right? We get very like, why is that happening? That's so weird.
mm,
And then if you're a self-doubter, then you're like, this is so weird. Does this happen for you? Am I weird for being like this? If I, right? And we try to validate our experience by checking with others. And if you're more of a self-criticizer, then you go into an internal, like, what's my problem? Why am I like this? Why can't I fix it?
mm. Yeah.
Instead of just having the trust that whatever is here for a reason, and I can handle it and I can take care of it, even if it's just in little pieces. I mean, I counted I think there were 3 kind of waves
Mm.
of sadness. Does that feel right to you?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I might
Yeah.
like watch it back and see if I count,
Yeah.
but that sounds right if I'm thinking back. Yeah.
And what I saw was a little bit of a deeper breath as you softened into each one, and your facial features softened a little bit. Your brows weren't as furrowed. Even I had a side view of your face for a little while. But as you just trusted and softened, the wave came and then it passed, and then it came and then it passed. And then the third one was more the pit in
Mhm.
your stomach. And since that one was a little different, that's why I asked you, what would that pit say? Like, we want to know why the pit is here now. And that's when you said, I'm so sorry. You have to feel this, and I love you. And so
Yeah, but I
that
love that.
internal.
Love, thank you for the and you belong, because
Mhm.
that's not a word or a sentence that I've been thinking or adopting that I will from now on. That
Right.
stick with me, and I will remind myself of that, because yeah, for sure I can, oh no, something's gone wrong here. I don't like this, that's going to help a lot. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to say that that amount of vulnerability that is so beautiful that you have demonstrated in not only inviting people to come and, I mean, first of all, just asking for help. That is amazing, right? In so many ways, we just want to shut ourselves away from the world, make everything
I can
go
handle.
away. Or I can handle this and overfunction. It's just such a beautiful tribute to who you are and who you want to be in the face of such a heartbreak as this. And I've just been such an honor for me to be here with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite things about what I'm doing here is that I get to experience, so many different amazing people. Like it might like I'm guessing, somatically, like there might be a similar theme among, a lot of the different sessions that I have over these next few months. But what makes them all so beautifully unique are the people, the different people that I get to connect with and that everybody else gets to see and connect with. So for people that feel drawn to you, can you please tell them how they can work with you?
Absolutely. My name is Sara Fisk. I spell my name with no H, unlike our dear Sarah here. And sarafisk.coach is my website. I am Sara Fisk Coach on Instagram. I have a podcast as well. It's called the Ex Good Girl Podcast.
Nice.
And I have a free Facebook community where we coach and talk about people pleasing every day of the week. So if that's of interest to you, anyone listening, I would love to see you.
Awesome. Amazing. Before we hang up, is there anything that you tell your clients that have gone through a session about, like, what can they do, to kind of take care of themselves and integrate, once the session is over?
Great question.
Yeah.
Go back over the map, right? Go back over, okay, here's where we started. Maybe I was a little nervous or unsure, but I was trusting. And then I saw the cat. I thought of the stickers. I saw the cat. I didn't want to look at the pictures, but then I trusted myself to look at the pictures. I felt that wave. I felt my body tense. How did I relax into that?
Okay.
I saw you take a breath. I saw you decide to trust yourself. And so I relaxed into that. And then I had some memories come up. I had his voice.
Mm-hmm.
You can do this, babe. You've got it. I'm right here with you. And then that brought up another wave of some sadness and grief. How just revisit what you did
Okay.
so that it helps you remember what to do next time.
Okay.
And then any significant sentences that your body gave you, like the pit, I'm so sorry. that this is
Mhm.
happening. I love you. Like, I'm here with you.
Okay.
And just make a note.
Okay.
Mental note, doesn't even have to be any kind of physical note. And just remembering to reinforce to your body, we can trust this. I've
Yeah.
got you.
Okay.
We're able to do this.
Perfect. And that's integration, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's
It's integration for, for me just means the deliberate remembering.
okay. Deliberate remembering.
Yeah. The deliberate rehearsing. Okay.
Okay.
So that happened, then that happened, then that happened. Just helping your body. Like, this is the new way we're going to do it. That tightness is going to be there. The tightness is not bad, but we relax into it. And this is how we did it.
Yes. And that's the new map,
That's it.
yes,
Yeah.
it's rerouted on this
Yes.
new route that, okay,
That's
beautiful.
exactly it. That's exactly it. You've got it.
Okay. Yay. Thank you so, so much, my friend.
You're so welcome,
All
Sarah. It
right.
was an honor and a pleasure.
Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.